Hi, good evening, everybody. The question around this time is, how do we get inspired for the Yomim Noraim? How do we feel connected and moved? The question of inspiration is a question that has faced every great thinker, every great philosopher and artist from the beginning of time. The great Chilean poet Pablo Neruda was once asked how he became creative. That first moment when he was inspired to write, he says, "I remember when I saw the hole in the backyard of my house, in the fence, the farm, and I looked through it and I saw another child's hand on the other side, and I realized there's another world out there beyond mine." Einstein was asked what inspired him to create and to think and to innovate. He says he remembers the time that he picked up a compass for the first moment in his life. That's this little device could tell you whether you're going north, east, south, or west. What inspires us? The Baal Shem Tov writes in Keter Malchus, he says, the recognition, Hakol hu Elokus. What inspired the Baal Shem Tov? That awareness that everything is God. That's what excites us at this time. Hakol hu Elokus, everything is God. Look at the themes of the Rosh Hashanah davening. The Musaf, you have the three parts. You have Malchus, Malchius, kingdom, God, making God king. Kadesh tamlichuni aleichem, coronate God as king. Why do we do that? Why is that necessary for Rosh Hashanah, the sweet time of dipping apples in honey? Why is that required? Because the message of Tamlichuni Aleichem says God is saying, I'm in charge of every detail of your life. I'm in everything. Everything that you see all around you, I breathed life into it. I made it come to be. When you recognize that even the smallest moments to the grand moments, all of it is designed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it creates so much inspiration, so much insight, so much awesomeness. Hakol hu Elokus, everything comes from God. In the Musaf Shemona Esrei, you also have shofars, that we coronate God with a shofar. God doesn't ask us to coronate him with a huge USC marching band or a brass trumpet section. Rather, God says a maisa pashut, a simple sound. Lubavitcher Rebbe adds that we do it with the most simple of devices, a ram's horn. That's how we coronate God, because God says, you want to find me in your life? You want that inspiration? It's in the simplest breath of a child. It's in the simplest interactions in your day-to-day life. That, your speech, your words, your chizik that you give each other, the very, talk that you give a friend or a relative who's having a difficult time, in that breath, in that vayipach be'ap of nishmas chaim, when God breathed into us the soul of life, in that is where you'll find the inspiration. The third part of the Musaf is zichronos, remembrances, is looking back and recognizing that God's there, God's hand was there every step of the way, taking a snapshot and recognizing this is what it's all about, is noticing in the moment, capturing that moment and recognizing Hashem was there. Remember a story that someone told me. He said that he had a tough past, and he told me that he met the Gadol, the great Rav Yankala Galinsky in Bnei Brak, a very short fellow, and he met Rav Yankala Galinsky, and he was so blown away by him, and he turned to him, and he said, "Do you mind?" And they were by a suit store. He said, "Do you mind if I take a picture with you?" He tried on one of the suits and said, "Let me take a picture with you if you don't mind." He says, "No problem, you take a picture with me." He stopped, he took a picture with Rav Yankala Galinsky in the suit that he was trying on from the suit store, and right as he was taking the picture, he ran out of the store with the suit on. This guy ran out of the store with the suit on. A year later, Rav Yankala Galinsky ran into him again and said, the whole thing made no sense. I understand you stole a suit. You must have needed it. Okay, I get it. But why'd you take the picture with me? He said, because I wanted to come home and show my mother, who never believed in me, that look, I made it. Here I am with one of the Gedolim with a new beautiful suit. So I took the picture. When I think of that story, what that person told me, that's what zichronos is. God is taking a snapshot, a freeze frame in time, and saying, I know you did this, I know you did that, but this is the truest statement of who you are right now. This is your essence. This is what you want to be. This is you inspired and connected. That's Rosh Hashanah. What's Yom Kippur? Think about what Yom Kippur is. Yom Kippur, we talk about Yonah and Nineveh, Yonah and the whale. Yom Kippur is about a life when you shirk that duty. It's a life of ignoring, recognizing HaKadosh Baruch Hu in your life. What are the consequences of that? What happens when you don't see Hashem in your life, making such an impactful part of your life and who you are? That's what Yom Kippur is. What's Sukkot? Sukkot is caught between two themes, right? You're picking up the Daled Minim. You have Daled Minim, the 4 species in your hand, and you also have this sukkah, this hut you're building. So what's the theme? On one hand, the Daled Minim are about the agriculture of Israel, right? That's really what it celebrates. And the building of the sukkah reminds us how God cared for us in the wilderness. It's like a yontif in confusion. Which one is it? Explains the great Makubal, the Chalban, the milkman. The Chalban explains that Sukkot is about the wilderness, the desert, the past, that God was there taking care of us, sheltering us in our past. He was always there in every story and every narrative. But it's also about the agriculture, the crops of coming into Israel, our future inheritance. God is there where we were, and God is there where we're going to be. This is what these Yom Tovim are all about. Rosh Hashanah is recognizing the Malchus of Hashem. God inspires us and is there in every detail of our lives, from the greatest moments to the smallest moments. Yom Kippur is recognizing the consequences of not seeing a Kodesh Baruch Hu in our lives. And Sukkot is recognizing that Hashem has always been there and will always be part of our story, part of our journey. This is what it means to be part of Emunah. Emunah is faith. Emunah is believing and recognizing that Hashem has charged his people with taking care of others. And in that little act of chesed, in that little act of tzedakah, in that moment that you reach and care for another human being, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, there you will find my kingship. Everyone should have a beautiful yontif, and a yontif that is signed and sealed in the book of life. Chag Sameach.